Some stories were never meant to be told. They were buried beneath layers of official silence, beneath the rubble of burned files and the fog of post-war alliances. But sometimes, what we bury doesn't stay buried. In the icy plains of northeast China during the 1930s and 40s, Japan created something far worse than a battlefield. They built a facility where human beings were used like lab rats, cut open, infected, frozen alive, all in the name of progress. It was called Unit 731. And while Nazi war criminals faced trial in Nuremberg, most of those who ran this place, they walked free. Some even thrived. And the reason why might be the most disturbing part of all. This is the story of Unit 731, and these are the Room 13 files. It began in 1932, shortly after Japan invaded Manchuria and set up a puppet regime called Manchukuo. The Japanese Imperial Army needed a new kind of power, one that didn't rely on tanks or bullets. They turned to biology. Led by General Shiro Ishii, a physician and army officer obsessed with germ warfare, the army created a secret compound near the city of Harbin. Officially, it was the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department, but inside it was something else entirely. Prisoners were brought in, mostly Chinese civilians, but also Russians, Koreans, and even Allied POWs. No trials, no sentences, just numbers on a ledger. The guards called them Maruta. It means logs. Because to the scientists of Unit 731, these people weren't human, they were material. Over the next decade, Unit 731 became a factory of agony. Some prisoners were deliberately infected with plague, anthrax, typhoid, and cholera. Others were exposed to frostbite, left outside in sub-zero temperatures until their skin turned black, then brought inside and vivisected while still conscious, their nerves studied as they died. There were experiments on forced pregnancies, on newborns, on entire families. They tested grenades on live humans, strapped captives to poles to study the effects of flamethrowers. There are even reports of prisoners placed in pressure chambers until their eyes burst from the sockets. It wasn't war. It wasn't science. It was cruelty refined into procedure. And yet, when Japan surrendered in 1945, something strange happened. Shiro Ishii wasn't arrested. There was no Tokyo version of Nuremberg for Unit 731. Instead, the United States quietly stepped in. American intelligence officers made a deal. In exchange for the unit's biological warfare research, the US would grant immunity to Ishii and his team. No trials, no prison, just secrecy and silence. Because the US didn't see war crimes, they saw data. Horrific, yes, but also useful. Experiments that could never be ethically done in the West had already been done in Manchuria. And with the Cold War brewing, that data was priceless. To the US government, Unit 731 was a moral atrocity, but a strategic asset. Let that settle in. America prosecuted Nazi doctors who tortured twins, but protected Japanese doctors who froze children alive. Why? Was it a matter of politics, science, racism, or something deeper? Some of Unit 731's alumni went on to lead Japanese universities. Others became executives at pharmaceutical companies. Shiro Ishii himself lived quietly, reportedly dying of throat cancer in the 1950s, having never served a day behind bars. Meanwhile, the victims disappeared from the records. No graves, no names, just rumors passed down by survivors who were never supposed to exist. But not everything stayed buried. The site of Unit 731 still stands today, on the outskirts of Harbin. For years, it was denied, hidden, ignored, but stories kept surfacing. Locals told of strange noises near the compound at night, screams echoing from empty buildings, lights flickering in sealed tunnels, and shadows that moved with no source. There are even reports that during heavy rains, the earth near the site seeps red, as if bleeding. Skeptics call it superstition, but the ground remembers, and those who worked there carried ghosts of their own. Japanese soldiers assigned to Unit 731 later reported intense nightmares. Some committed suicide. Others vanished from public life, refusing to speak about what they saw. Japan, to this day, has never officially apologized for Unit 731. School textbooks barely mention it, and those who try to investigate it too deeply often find the doors to truth quietly locked. But the records exist, and the silence surrounding them says more than words ever could. In 2002, a Japanese court acknowledged for the first time that Unit 731 engaged in human experimentation, but no one was punished, and no compensation was ever paid to the victims' families. Ask yourself, how many stories like this are still buried? How many facilities? How many names? And how often do governments trade justice for information? This isn't just about the past. It's about what we allow ourselves to forget, and what we pretend never happened, because it's easier. If you're still watching, they don't want you looking too close. But if you're with us, hit like, leave a comment, subscribe before they pull the plug. We uncover the stories they tried to hide. We open the files they never wanted found. This is another entry from the Room 13 file.